everybody, it's Joe Cioffi here on this Friday. I decided to start 5 minutes early. I had a little time on my hands, and I'm thinking tonight we're not going to have a big crowd because this is Passover tonight, begins right after sunset, and of course the Easter holiday weekend means folks might be traveling to their destinations or beginning to make preparations for the weekend. So I figured let me just get this underway early. Dio Nankumar, you are apparently the only one on at the moment, so we'll do a show just for you. Okay. Oh, Sebastian P is on. Good to see you here. Okay, so we've got actually a pretty interesting pattern going forward that I'm going to spend a little bit of time on, and let's first bring up, I want to bring up the watches and warnings that we have, because we do have a few of them, especially up in the northern plains and in the upper Midwest. It's kind of a narrow band, but we do have in the pink area, that's all winter storm warnings up for the northern third of Wisconsin, on up also into the upper peninsula of Michigan, back across northern Minnesota, and in the orange in a couple of the western Minnesota counties, as well as a few counties in parts of eastern North Dakota and northeastern South Dakota. We have blizzard warnings up, and I was looking at the temperatures up here today. They are basically in the teens to around 20. It is very, very cold here, so they're going to have they'll probably have blizzard conditions for a few hours with the temperature criteria included. During the overnight, they'll be down in the low teens and single digits, and not much above the teens during the daytime on Saturday. This is a very fast-moving storm that is moving across the northern plains, and those warnings go back up northwest across North Dakota. Otherwise, we really don't have too much happening across the United States. A little smattering of winter weather advisories up for parts of central Nebraska, and some high wind warnings and some wind advisories up across the Midwest, parts of western New York, and also on up into the northern Rockies. But the rest of the country, quiet, and we'll probably have a fairly quiet Easter weekend. So let me go to the actual outlook. There isn't a lot of severe weather going on tonight. When we pull up the radar, it's not really terribly active. There are a couple of thunderstorms in parts of northern Florida, but they really aren't producing very much. The severe weather has really just kind of waned after the last couple of days, and we knew this as it was moving eastward. Even the shower activity in the northeast has really diminished considerably as this weather front moves on through and all the energy heads up into Canada. And in the meantime, you can see the next weather system already rapidly moving southeastward into North Dakota and back through northeastern Montana, and moving fairly quickly to the east. And that is going to be the signature of the weather going forward through this weekend and into next week. We're going to have a very fast flow, we'll call it a fast flow type weather pattern here. I just want to make sure I don't lose myself. But we're going to be in a very fast pattern for much of next week. And there are going to be a couple of snow chances along the way for you snow lovers. You might have been hoping that would be the case, that there was going to be one last gasp. I think there will be. I'm not 100% sure how this is all going to play out, but we'll take a look at what the models are doing, and I'll do a little illustrating with this, and I'll show you what's going on with the upper air. But first off, here's our storm in the plains, and this is the GFS for 8 p.m. Eastern time, and there's your solid area of snow throughout much of North Dakota. That low is going to really race rapidly eastward. By morning, it's down into southeastern Minnesota, so you can see how quick this snow is going to be across the northern plains. It comes in at 8 o'clock. And in many places by 8 a.m., it's already long gone. The low at this point is moving into western Wisconsin, and by afternoon, it's moving into northern Michigan. The tight little low, high pressure and cold air coming down behind it. By early afternoon tomorrow, the snows will be in northeastern Wisconsin and through the upper peninsula of Michigan, and then that low moves over Lake Huron tomorrow evening. Now, the trailing cold front with this, with the low going so far north and west of my coastline, the front is going to lose upper air support here and weaken. So there could be a brief rain shower early Easter Sunday morning, or a brief snow shower in my neck of the woods, which is around eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, southern New England, and the Hudson Valley. A little bit further north, there a few snow showers could be a bit more numerous, but much of Easter Sunday should be fine. But now look at this. This is the southern, the tail edge, the southwestern edge of this front is going to stall out, and you're going to get a little bit of a wave that develops on this. And this too is going to race like a rocket ship. By 2 a.m. Monday morning, you've got a low in northeastern North Carolina, and there'll probably be some snow on the northern edge of this across southern Pennsylvania into northern West Virginia, southern Ohio, northeastern Kentucky. This is not going to be a big precip producer by any means. I'm thinking we're talking about a coating to a couple of inches in some places because it's moving so quick. And by Monday morning, the low is already offshore. The northern fringe of this, an area of wet snow. I got to think that this would be something that maybe covers the car tops between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. and some grassy surfaces. But once we get past sunrise, this stuff is going to disappear within an hour or two, and then done. And then that goes out. And you can already see, by the way, the next weather system in Colorado, low pressure there in eastern Colorado, which is actually, in terms of pressure, it's a fairly deep system with snows Monday into Monday evening across the northern plains and back across the northern Rockies. This low is going to take aim to my west. So by Tuesday morning, there's already rain developing, and there might even be some snow or some freezing precipitation on the northern fringe of this, but it'll just, after that, go just be plain rain. And this is going to be, I think, another one of these warm front, cold front things, and where the onshore flow is going to be problematic, and some areas are going to have a tough time getting out of that. That was the new GFS, which is only out till Tuesday morning. So I switched over to the older run, and you can see where that low winds up going into northern Pennsylvania. And actually, there'll probably be, there'll be a hanging warm front down here. Might even be a little low that might try and develop on the warm front, but it won't really matter. It looks like if that doesn't happen, we'll get briefly warm sectored here. There's a pretty decent looking southwest flow that sets up. Now, whether it mixes to the ground or not remains to be seen. And then the cold front comes through on Wednesday, and behind that, a shot of cold air to finish off the week. Now, late next week, and all the models are doing this in one form or another, we're going to have another system come out across the southern plains and the Gulf states, and you can see it here. Another cold front will move into the northeast early on Saturday morning, or actually Friday night into early Saturday morning, and stall out, and there'll probably be a wave on that front. And all the models are doing this, the European, the Canadian, and the GFS, all on the same page with this idea. Now, how it winds up evolving from here remains to be seen. And I want to go to, I'm going to bring up the European model, and I'll show you what's happening, because the European today was pretty interesting, I thought. And, all right, where did I put that window? I'm going to be mad if I lost it again. I always seem to lose it. Where'd you go? Okay, I found it. Excellent. Okay, so give me 1 second here. I'm going to set this up. I'm learning how to use this paint box so that, because I really do like to draw on the maps for you guys. I think it's helpful to, really kind of illustrates, when I'm pointing out troughs and ridges, it's a good idea if you're able to see this sort of stuff. So let me bring up, I'm going to start with the, where are you? Okay, so I'm going to start with the European Euro. I'm trying to remember which one did I bring up first. Hang on one second here, folks. Okay, so we've got the 96, 144, and 192. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 96-hour European. Thank you, by the way, Levi Cowan, Tropical Tidbits, for letting me do this with your stuff, because it's brilliant. All right, so here is the upper air jet stream for Tuesday. This is Tuesday at 8 a.m. and we are going to be under what I would describe as a rather fast flow in the atmosphere. You have a vortex that forms, and you can see it right here. This is a strong upper low that's sitting up in southeastern Canada on the eastern side of Hudson Bay, and we also continue to show some semblance of blockiness across northeastern Canada back to Greenland. You can see it here. There's an upper high there, and there's also one a strong upper high that is back over west of the Bering Sea and over in Siberia, and that is really driving these higher pressures across the pole, is creating a jet stream that is well displaced to the south, and you can see it here. Let me bring my brush back up. So, you know, you've got this flow that goes across the Pacific, comes into the west. You know, here there's some shortwave troughs in here too, and then goes west to east from there. And you know, of course, with this vortex here in Canada, you're getting some cold flow that's coming down from northern Canada into the Great Lakes and northeast, and it's being these shots of cold air separated by cold fronts every couple of days. So this is how our upper air is setting up. Now I'm going to go 48 hours later. We're going to go to Thursday, and I'll show you what the European is doing here, because I think it's going to be important as far as the long term is concerned about whether there might be something significant or not at the end of next week. Now, the vortex in Canada, part of it pulls out, and here it is. You know, the part that pulls out goes into Labrador, and that's that part right there. But then part of it stretches back, and that is what you see here back now on the west shores of Hudson Bay. And when you look at this, you still have this blocky signature across much of the polar regions, the polar region. I keep wanting to pluralize that. I don't know why. Much of the polar region has a very blocky signature, higher than normal pressures. So that keeps a very active jet to the south. You're also starting to get signs of a ridge here. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. You're getting a ridge here that's building up in the west. And the question is going to be, what happens to this system here, this one right here? Is it going to just kind of spin around, or is it going to wind up trying to carve some kind of trough and dig to the south and east? This is a very interesting situation that seems to be popping up on the European. And at least for now, when we go 48 hours after this, this is now going into next weekend, you start to get some semblance of some kind of trough that's going to try and form in the east. Now these are the pieces at this point. Let me bring up the map again. Let me start this from fresh here. So here's, I kind of misdrew that a little bit, but you do have, like, you have shortwave energy here, you've got shortwave energy here, and you know, I'm just my question is, what happens with, you know, this upper vortex here in Canada, and does it, try to phase some kind of a trough as these two short waves approach the East Coast? And I think that this is something that models are going to have a tough time resolving, at least certainly through this weekend and into early next week. And I also want to be cautious here because the European has been trying to show this stretching idea for the last 4 days, except that every day it just says, okay, no, it's 24 hours later, it's 24 hours later, it's 24 hours later. So I want to see how this all evolves over the weekend. But I think there are, let's say this, there are chess pieces here, okay, that are evolving and are going to be in play, and we are going to have to just keep our eyes on it and see where this all goes. But definitely a very interesting first week of April that is coming up, because the pattern, March was so crazy with all these nor'easters. If we wind up with something else, is it really going to be that big a surprise to anybody? Because I don't think it will be to me if we wind up with one more snow event, or possibly maybe two of them. I don't know, but it wouldn't shock me. Now, let me update you on the situation going on in England and Ireland, because models over the last 24 hours or so have kind of trended a little bit warmer with the situation over the weekend and early next week. We've got this spinning low sitting east of the northwest coast of France and south of Ireland, and that's mostly a rain event there. But as we look at the new GFS, it really doesn't show any snow at all with this. Apparently, there's just not enough cold air. And you can see it here. It's all but gone. The Canadian earlier still tried to maintain a little bit in the way of snow, but not very much. Let me just back away. Tell me I was looking at the wrong time frame. I'm sorry. Let me start that again. It's been a long week. Okay, so here's the Canadian. So there's our low spinning away, and here you can see the Canadian does have some snow showing up in central and northern England and Scotland, and then the low just kind of rotates around. Now we go to the GFS, and we'll back it up. We'll go back to the beginning. Kind of embarrassed now, but now here's the GFS, and actually the GFS does have a warmer view, which is that on the northern fringe now, it's just up in Scotland where it has some snow there on the northern edge of the precipitation shield as the storm rotates around. So looking like less of a threat, but we'll hold the door open. You can see the snow map, the snowfall forecast map on the GFS. Now, instead of having snow down into southern England, or at least trace amounts down into southern England, it's mostly north, and then of course up into Scotland where you start to get into some heavier amounts, and in the northern Ireland you also start to see some amounts, elevation driven of course, but it's not like what the models were showing over the last couple of days. So we'll see if that model trend holds. Then your last gasp snow for you folks in Britain and Ireland may be at the absolute best a minor event. I didn't think it was going to be a huge event, but it might have been an interesting early spring snowfall for you guys, where I know this time of year is usually not a time of year where you get even surprise snowfalls. You should be all done with it by now. So let me, by the way, let me just extend happy and healthy Passover to those of you celebrating Passover, to you and your family, and a happy and healthy Easter for those of you who are celebrating Easter, as am I, this weekend. K-Dog, thank you for hitting Super Chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your generosity. And just a big collective hello to everybody. Shelly Man Studios, you had your son today. Actually, a lot of places today made it up into the 60s, and parts of South Jersey again, central and South Jersey and southeastern PA, briefly saw some 70-degree temperatures, and now the colder air is coming in. And Matthew Goodman, I don't think it can snow in May for the East Coast. Yeah, it's pretty rare. I mean, even up in northern New England, every once in a while it does happen where you get a late season, freakish event. But if you don't do it by the time you get into the middle part of April, it's for the most part done. So, this window is going to shut down in about 2 weeks for sure. Most years, we would have been done with the snow, probably long done with it. But again, because of how crazy the weather pattern has been, nothing would shock me in the least. Hi to Jesse Kohr, Kohr. I hope I'm seeing that right, and I said that right. Welcome aboard. You want the Shellyman Studios wants that snow window shut down by tonight. I don't blame you. I've really had enough. I want to get on to some fishing. I want to get outside. And a lot of folks in my area, because of the warm weather that we had, the warm fall, autumn, and then the sudden flip of the switch when the bitter cold came in December, a lot of yard cleanups never got done. I still have leaves from the fall that I haven't been able to collect, and of course the weather now has not been cooperative. Obviously, I'm waiting for 1 or 2. I won't even take a warm day. I will just take a decent day with seasonal temperatures so I can get outside for a while and do a little cleanup. But usually by now I would have had at least a few days where I could have done that. They just have not existed, certainly for me. And I know a lot of landscapers that I talk to and snow removal guys who have landscaping businesses, they transition over, are trying to decide, am I taking the plow off the truck already so I can get on with what I need to get on with? It's like I said, 99% of the time we're usually done by this time of year, but this might be one of those Aprils where the first part of it is a little bit crazy. March kind of extending itself. All right, so you know what, folks? Let's cut it short here. You got things to do, and go ahead and start getting them done. I'm not 100% sure what my schedule is going to be this weekend in terms of broadcasting. I'll be on WPIX TV on Saturday, tomorrow night at 5 and at 10 o'clock. So I'm not sure that I'm going to have an opportunity to do a YouTube live stream on Saturday. If I do it, it will probably have to be sometime in the morning, and I got to see how tight my schedule is. But I'll see if I'll try to sneak one on. As far as Easter Sunday is concerned, I'm probably, if I do a live stream Easter Sunday, it will be early in the day. So I'll do some kind of broad forecast analysis that'll carry over for the rest of the day, because I want some I want some downtime, and you want some downtime too. So with the absence of any kind of major storms, I'm going to probably take a step back. We've got this chance for some wet snow here early Monday morning for a few hours. I don't think it's anything to get too worked up about. It's a fast-moving system. It comes in, it goes out, and then it's all said and done. So again, happy Passover. That begins shortly, right after sundown. Happy Easter to those of you celebrating Easter. Easter Vigil services tomorrow night. Should have no weather issues if you're in my neck of the woods. And Easter Sunday in my neck of the woods, except for maybe a brief shower in the morning between, say, 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., a brief rain or snow shower. The weather looks terrific. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you guys soon.